Just so you know, this theory about creating awareness about the family court system and the corrupt judicial system is utter bullshit. Awareness hasn't done jack crap for anybody, for anything. Do you think when the civil rights movement happened that it was because of awareness that people's hearts changed and society became less racist and the institutions became less racist and access opened up? Do you think people didn't know there was slavery and that black folks were trying to integrate or live their own lives? You think people needed awareness? That was the answer? It was because there was a push and there was pressure to change the hearts of human beings to accommodate people of color back then. And the people in power doors were either knocked down or they changed their mind and they realized they need to do it. And some of them did it just for politically correct reasons. You know, not too many, but nowadays, everybody talking about, oh, we care about people of color, especially politicians. They're all full of crap. You never see them nowadays you never see somebody in the 2020s say they're still mad about Amadou Diallo or Khalif Browder. So they're all full of shit. But it was the pressure that was put on people and they were forced into a situation or into a bind. Okay? Awareness doesn't do jack crap. We've been aware for 60 years. Go back and look at the 1970s movie with Dustin Hoffman, Kramer versus, I think it was Dustin Hoffman, was it? Kramer versus Kramer, about a custody battle and the heartbreaking, gut-wrenching story of a dad who couldn't see his kid but every other weekend or whatever the plot was. 13 years ago, the documentary Divorce Court came out, and dads and fathers' rights groups got all sexually aroused because they're like, oh, finally, awareness. Awareness is for men who are effeminate and emotional. Awareness are for women who are naturally emotional. Oh, let's get the word out. Think hard about this. A judge sitting in a courtroom where they were God of that courtroom. That is their kingdom. They can do whatever they want. And if they do something wrong, you got to go through a year or two of the appellate process for the most part. Unless you sue them in federal court or you're one of the rare people who goes to the police or FBI and they investigate them for fraud. 1 out of a million. Awareness usually, who are the people who are usually made aware of what's going on? Who's watching all the videos of family court corruption or CPS corruption or whatever? Who's watching them? Other victims. Do you think awareness of drunk driving is what caused, laws to be, people used to be able to drink with open containers before? It was groups like Mothers Against Drunk Driving that went and got legislation that got cops to enforce the law. Now, nobody's going to enforce laws that had cops go into courtrooms and tell judges what to do. In fact, the judges have the power to arrest people who act out of order in their courtroom. Thomas Jefferson warned us that the judicial branch is the branch that we need to worry about the most in government. He saw that they have unhindered power, and the only recourse you have is to do an appeal. But see, you guys could protest like I protested, because when I've protested, I got judges to start changing their decisions. Because I'll go out and protest and say, this person gave custody to a sex offender, or this person lets child molesters and violent parents be around kids. And I'll cite a court case, and they'll be embarrassed when they go to work because I'll email everybody at the courthouse that this judge is doing this. And then when the judge walks in their little bubble, they're not in a bubble anymore because there's everybody staring at them at work like, you're the one who gave the kid to a mom with a pedophile boyfriend? What the hell is wrong with you? And they get embarrassed and they start changing their rulings. But see, nobody thinks about this because everybody in the fathers' rights movement or the family court awareness movement is stupid. Being aware of something doesn't change anything. Like I said, with the civil rights movement, slavery was going on for 400 years. You think they weren't aware that black folks were treated like second-class humans? Didn't have anything to do with awareness. And then you got people like Ryan, the unmarried father, tough dad. Or you got Mark Ludwig, or the Father's Rights Movement, or 50-50 Dad. Fathers Matter 247. All these pages with millions of followers. The lady I just criticized, the manicured mom, who I like because she's not trying to pretend like what she's doing is going to change anything. She's just out there blogging about whatever. But in one of her comments and in a video, She gave legal advice, and she said men can't be given legal advice to each other, which is utter bullshit. And she lied, and she was being a traitor sellout. And then she was presuming the worst about guys who are trying to help guys out there. Instead of attacking the content of what they're saying, she's saying, oh, you can't do that. They're not, People just need to stay in their lane. But this awareness thing is utter bullcrap. People will come and they'll DM me and say, and they'll send me on the screen, there's a screenshot worth of a message, and there's another one. I've had people send me 5, 10, 20 screenshots, and they think I'm supposed to read that. And I'm like, what the hell are you sending me this message for? And they're like, oh, to create awareness, you could post it, or you could talk about my case. You narcissistic, self-centered bitch. Everybody's going through the same thing you're going through. You self-flattering narcissist. You're not the only one. You just want a bunch of people to rally around you. You need to grow some balls, and you need to fight your own case the right way. The way that if everybody went to court and fought the right way and took their case to trial. Do you know how prohibition got overturned? When alcohol was illegal. When alcohol was illegal, there was a bunch of gangs and mafia folks and moonshiners, selling alcohol on the black market or whatever you want to call it. And there was gang banging among mafia folks or, that type of stuff or whatever. But what happened was, it wasn't because, there's so much violence around alcohol, we need to legalize it again. It was because the court system was so backed up, because everybody, like in the mafia, they would take their case to trial. Like most of you pussies won't do in your own court case, because you're too much of a scaredy cat and you surrender and just hand over stuff because your lawyer says, well, I'm not going to represent you at trial if you don't sign this mediation agreement. They basically bully you and commit violations of the rules of professional conduct, commit malpractice, and you let them. So you pay them to bully you to commit malpractice, and then you're screwed in your parenting plan that you signed under duress. Back then, if I had an attorney and they said, well, you need to sign this, I'll say, well, fine. If you're going to quit on me, then quit on me. I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out on my own. Not even knowing what I was doing. And you pussies out there sit there and say, oh, I can't possibly do that. And there's a million resources out there in your local courts, your local counties, self-help seminars and all that stuff. Now, they're not that great. Family court facilities, they're not that great. They're definitely not as good as getting a consult with me. Think about this. A consult with me right now, I charge $80 an hour. 1/10 of what Judge Anthony charges. And all he does is talk about narcissist this and narcissist that. And I talk to people about how I got full custody, how I won my first contempt, how I fought off bogus restraining orders, dealing with precise things for your particular case. And people will go on my page and rant and whine and cry that I charge for my time for months. And you could have saved $1 a day and had a consult with me and learned everything that you needed to know as far as the basics. There's people who've had one consult with me and came back a year or two later. I got 50-50, I got full custody, because I took what you said and ran with it. And I did all the research, and that made me find more research and stuff. There is no answer in awareness. There's an answer in people getting on the fence and going to war in their own cases. So with the mafia thing and the moonshining and alcohol, since the mafia would take their cases to trial, and they probably threaten the jury and get off or whatever, the courts were overloaded, because 95% of court cases settle out of court. If everybody takes their case to trial, you wouldn't have a trial for 4 or 5 years, and the courts would be so bogged down with the trial schedule, they wouldn't have time for anything else. So they changed the laws because everybody took their case to trial. And my pussy-ass bitch gender will sit here and just bow down and surrender. And I've had guys who sign off on a parenting plan or final order, and they didn't even read it. They just wanted to get it to go away because they're such, because they got a labia injury and the labia hurts so bad that these dudes are like, oh my God, I can't do it. I can't. And the answer is going to war now and going through the hell of war now so you have peace with your kids the rest of it. I got my daughter when she was 7 months old. I went to war. I had no hope in sight that what I was doing was going to work. I had nobody guiding me about the war of attrition. But I had the conscience to want to fight for my daughter, make my life revolve around her. Unlike a lot of you pussies. Oh, I got to go meet with my buddies for Monday Night Football at the bar or the sports pub. And Thursday Night Football, and Saturday college football, and Sunday football. You need to drop everything and make this your life, and go to war and set aside and sacrifice your life for a year in your custody battle. Go to war and stop whining and crying on all these gay pages with all these fruity feminine dudes saying, oh, awareness, we're creating awareness. For who? For what? Awareness has been around 60 years. Nothing has changed. Grow some balls. The only way the system is going to change is the 3 reasons that I have on my YouTube.